Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of my Spindrift build. Alright, well I can start this video on a happy note here. As you know, the decals had fallen apart and I had to start over. I ordered the decal sheet that I saw on eBay made by TSDS Incorporated, and they should be here shortly. But you know, after this happened, I went on Facebook and posted about this situation, and I received a number of responses, and all of them indicated that the decals were not very good. So I was further encouraged to try to paint the stripes instead, and that is what I decided to do, and I'm really glad I did. I wasn't, confident I could do a good job, but I used Tamiya's masking tape and my airbrush, and I'm really pleased with the results. I used the contour of the hull as my guide and basically cut curves into the masking tape and just laid them down, and it really wasn't as hard as I anticipated. For the colors, I used Tester's light gray for the main stripe and Tester's intermediate blue for the thinner ones. I'll still need the side decals from the TSDS set because those were damaged as well. But what I'll do is I'll review the decal sheet with you later in this video. Now, after painting that main stripe, it gave me confidence to go ahead and try it on the tail section, since those decals were not looking very good either, and this is the way it turned out. Now, the decals, real quick, just to mention a word about that. If you are planning to build this model, you might be able to still use that decal sheet. Hindsight, of course, is 20/20, and you could reinforce the decal sheet by using one of these two products. You can use a decal bonder, or you can use this liquid decal film, both of which can be used when you're making your custom decals or restoring old decals. This will reinforce the decal sheet and give you a better chance of using that sheet without it falling apart like that. Now, bear in mind, when you use any of these products, particularly this one here, you're coating the entire decal sheet. So when you cut out the decals, you have to cut along the marking of the decal. It's not going to separate like it was intended to. So just be sure you do that. You're going to have to trim closely to the decal marking that you are applying. All right, getting ready now to hot glue the cardboard section onto the bottom half. Once that is hardened and dried, we'll go ahead and put the two halves together. It was difficult to record this, but what I did was I just applied hot glue here and here and then on the opposite side, so just giving it time to dry and harden. Okay everyone, well I decided to reconfigure the stand. As I was putting the other one together, it started to look a bit overwhelming, and so I'm going to go by the old rule, less is more. So decided to put it on a stand that I used similar to the Flying Sub miniature, and basically used a PVC cap here and glued on this circular piece of wood I got at Michael's. So I've positioned the holes where the ship is going to be positioned that allows the wires to go through, and then these two here are for the plants I'll be installing. So I'm going to go ahead now and use plaster of Paris to create a surface here, and once that dries, we'll be painting it and detailing it a little further. Alright, so here we have the stand drying, and after it's fully hardened, I'm going to go ahead and paint it. And then over that, we're going to apply some blended turf here, stuff you typically use for train models. And once this is adhered onto the surface, I'm going to paint that as well. Alright, so this is how the stand is looking. I have the plants in place now. You'll notice there's a second hole here because when I placed Spindrift here, I wasn't thinking when I laid down these rocks here, they're right next to the door. So I decided to add an extra hole here and just move the Spindrift just a little bit forward there, and that works out much better, giving us more clearance. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I have been awaiting a decal sheet by a company called TSDS. So this one is a sheet here. It's made by tsdsinc.com. You can find them online, and they produce a number of different detailing decals and other things that you can use for a variety of models. This sheet in particular, however, came from vcshobbies.com, and I found them on eBay, and they were very responsive, sent the sheet out right away, and they're located on the East Coast. Alright, so as you can see here from the instructions, not only does this come with a set of decals, but also an interior that you can replace the one from Moebius Models. So let's go and open up this package. Alright, so first of all, here we have the interior inserts, which really don't look a lot different from the Moebius ones. I can't compare them side by side since I've already installed the Moebius inserts. But the one thing I can tell you is to keep in mind that you're not going to be able to see a lot of the detail, particularly in the rear cabin. You will, of course, with the cockpit, but as you can tell, it's printed on this plain paper, and you'll have to adhere it onto some heavier paper. I'm just not sure it's really worth the trouble. Moving on to the decal sheet, here are some issues that I have with it. First of all, the color of the main stripe is a sky blue. I personally think a light gray is a better choice. The one thing, however, that is missing are the thinner stripes, and that makes it inaccurate. Secondly, this is printed on clear decal paper, which means these colors will not show through this way. In fact, the instructions tell you that it's required you paint a light color onto the area that you're applying the decal, since our model is a dark orange. In my opinion, if you're going to do that, you might as well just go ahead and paint the stripes on as I did. The sheet comes with other markings, as you can see here, for the engine intakes, the front grills, and the area under the dome in case you don't want to paint those in. One interesting decal is this little hatch here, which goes underneath the main door, and I assume that is the storage for those steps that we see them climb up and enter the ship with. Luckily, it wasn't too expensive because I did need those hull decals. As you can see, I've already applied a couple of them. I do recommend you spray on a decal bonder, which I did just to be on the safe side. I don't mean to be too critical here, but I just thought you should know this stuff before you buy it, or if you're interested in getting a hold of it. Alright, so before we wire in the model, I have to construct the battery compartment, and that's what I did here. I just made this out of sheet styrene. This is where it's good to have some styrene plastic in your parts drawer. So I just measured out the length of the battery here and created this, just cutting pieces and gluing them together. These two bars here are going to be our mounting blocks. So the idea is to mount this up against the top here, and that way our battery can slide inside here. Alright, and here we now have the compartment glued in place, and you can see our battery slides right in. Alright, next thing to do is to mount some switches. So I have this one now for the 9 volt, and we have another one here for the 3 volt. And there's going to be one on top of each other here, so I'm going to glue those on with hot glue. Alright, so here we now have the two switches in place. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and solder this up. It's very difficult to tape this and do this at the same time, so I'm just going to briefly go over what I'm doing here, and then I'll get everything together and show you the finished project. But basically we've got wires coming from the SMD lights. That's what these thin ones are from. And so the green one is hooking up into the black, and the red, of course, into the red. So our battery is right here, right? So we'll connect all that together, and then the larger wires are going to be for our 9 volt. And remember, we have to wire in also our little circuit board here. Okay, so I'll get everything wired up and I'll show you when it's all completed. Alright everybody, here we now have the completed project. This again is the Land of the Giants Spindrift from Moebius Models. This model measures a 1/128 scale, and it's about 5.5 inches from front to back. The model is more accurate than the one that was around for years by Aurora and then re-released by Polar Lights. A few features that you can point out right away are the dome, which is supposed to be oval just like you see here, and this antenna that reaches out from the front of the ship. In the Aurora version it's just a small little nub, but this one actually extends out the way it's supposed to. So for the most part, very happy with the kit. The one thing, of course, that I was disappointed with are the decals that came with the model. They simply just fell apart in water. Again, I would stress that if you want to build this kit and you want to utilize those decals, just use a decal bonder or that decal restoring solution, and I think you'll have much better luck than I did. Still, it turned out pretty well, considering we had to paint the stripes here on the main hull. The one decal that I had to end up using from the TSDS sheet is this C insignia there, which actually seems to be more an appropriate size than the one from the Moebius kit. You'll notice that I created a little step stool here that was just fashioned out of styrene plastic. On the television show there were always steps that led up to the main door. Wasn't too sophisticated, it actually just looked like a step stool. And the plants worked out real well here also. I think they make for a nice diorama or a nice display base here. And also the turf that I used here, I painted it brown, and once it hardened and dried it really does look like soil. So pretty happy with the way that turned out as well. Now let me go ahead and turn on the lights here for you. Now I'll give you another view of this in just a second, but you can see the effect from the Lighthouse kit that I got from modeltrainsoftware.com. Does a great job with duplicating the effect that we saw on a television show. I actually wanted it to cycle a little faster, but you know, now that it's in the model and it's just cycling this way, I think it looks good. I think it definitely replicates what we saw on a television show. Sometimes on a TV show it would blink on and off a little quicker, but I actually do like this effect a lot. The SMD lights are more than sufficient to light the interior. Again, I went with a nano-sized SMD, again from modeltrainsoftware.com. They are wired with resistors, by the way, so they could take up to a 9 volt. However, when I wired it up to a 9 volt, it was way too bright, so it is wired up separately to a 3 volt battery. And here we have another view, so you can get a closer look at that pulsating effect. The light is definitely bright enough. I was afraid that it might be too bright, but really it worked out well. As you saw, it's very confined space back there, so again, having the back wall of the rear of the cabin there coated with a silver paint helped with light diffusion. So that's something you want to consider doing if you plan to build this kit with that light fixture. Let me go ahead and rotate it a little bit more here. The dome I left frosted, and there are a number of people who paint it red. It did glow kind of pinkish on television. I don't know, I've seen the model, like I said, in person, and the dome was just a clear, frosted dome like you see here. So I wanted just to leave it as is. I think it looks fine with the red dome, but it was just my preference to leave it this clear color. I'm going to dim the lights now a little bit further, and you'll see the nice thing that we're getting here is also a glow through the dome as well, because I opened up that honeycombed fixture that's inside the dome there. So let me go ahead and dim the lights a little further here. Okay, just bear with me, my camera isn't the best in dim illumination here, but you can see that we're getting a nice glow through that dome, and again, that pulsating effect is very effective. And giving you a look now at the aft part of the ship, you can see how well the pulsating effect is working back here. So it is a lot of fun to create these bases. You can really let your imagination run here. I was, of course, going to create a larger base than this, but it seemed to take away from the model. So I went back to my original idea and utilized this circular base, which worked real well. The compartments that I made for the batteries are very effective at holding them in place. Let me just see if I can give you a quick peek at those there. So this one, again, the larger one holds, of course, the 9 volt, and I created a smaller one to hold the 3 volt. All I did was, again, just bend some styrene plastic to conform to the shape of the circular base here, and just put some plastic pieces there just to brace it, and the 3 volt just slips right in there. So it just kind of keeps everything nice and neat. The wiring is all hidden underneath here. You can see there's a circuit board there that controls the pulsating effect. That'd be fun just to give you a look at both projects here now side by side. We have the Moebius flying sub here on the left and the Spindrift here to the right. All right, before I go, one thing I wanted to share with you guys is the DVD set that I purchased a number of years ago now. Unfortunately, with streaming, you're going to probably see less and less of these types of releases, but this was cleverly packaged. You can see the outer cover here has the bold graphics that you see from the opening of the TV show, and we've got the backside here which shows what comes in the set. And what's really cool, though, is the fact that it's packaged in this replica of a cage that the Giants would use to capture the crew. You can see behind the cage here is a picture of the crew. It's an embossed metal picture of them. Opening up the set now, you have, of course, the DVDs that include all of the episodes. It was only on for 2 seasons, but it comes with a lot of other extras. Just show you here. First of all, it comes with these postcard-sized pictures of the cast. And we've got a mini comic book, and also a keychain with the Spindrift and the shoulder patch that was worn by the crew. And just another book that tells a little bit about the show itself. A couple pieces of trivia. One is Don Marshall, who is the co-pilot of the show. I actually did meet him at a convention a number of years ago. It was actually a Star Trek convention. He appeared on a Star Trek episode called the Galileo 7. I'm sure most of you know that if you're Star Trek fans. And also, John Williams, the famous composer, wrote some of the musical score for the show. Okay guys, well I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed following along. This is one of those projects that not only is fun to do, but brings back memories from when I was a kid. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at interstellarmodeler@gmail.com. Not sure what my next project's going to be, but I'll decide soon. So in the meantime, you guys take care, and thanks again for watching.